Hello and welcome to Wally Giznep. My name is Ben and joining me as always is my good friend Liam. Liam, we've got something special for our listeners this time. What are we doing today?
Well, Ben, you may remember that at the end of each episode of our animated classics, we decided which character in that film we felt was the sexiest character in that film as a measure of either unnecessarily or inappropriately sexualizing characters for a family-friendly film. And one might ask, if we have a sexiest character in each film, who's the sexiest character across all of the films?
And that's what we've got today. One also might ask why. We're not going to be answering that question today, but we are going to be having a sexy character showdown. So Liam, I have prepared a comprehensive list of who was the sexiest character from each of the 60 films we looked at. Now, if you listen back to the podcasts, you'll know that some of these we nominated multiple characters or we couldn't quite agree. In those instances, I've either gone for the one that we've both put forward as the sexiest character, or if we are disagreeing, I've gone for whoever I felt made the most impassioned argument or felt the most strongly about who was the sexiest character.
Coincidentally, it was mostly your choice. Well, I agree with this guy.
This Ben really speaking to me as a person. Unironically, often when I listen back to the podcasts, I think of a joke in my head and then the past me says it and I'm like, oh man, I'm so predictable. So for round one, we have split our 60 competitors into 15 groups of 4, and I'm going to pitch them to you, Liam, and then I want you to help me decide. I will try and be an impartial arbiter if you and I can't agree, but we may have to throw it out to the audience for the final round. But we shall start with group number 1. So Liam, who is the sexiest character out of Robin Hood, Li Shang, Dodger, and the evil queen from Snow White?
Now, this is where immediately we're going to hit a wall, because I know what I want to say, but I also know what you want me to say.
Well, okay, let's start with, I assume we can discount the evil queen.
Yes. I mean, I was all team Woodsman anyway.
Exactly. So, Liam, out of Li Shang and Dodger, who's the sexiest?
Well, I do love Billy Joel, but Li Shang just really does it for me, so it's easily Li Shang of those two.
So, the thing with Robin Hood is, I don't necessarily even find Robin Hood particularly sexy. I mean, he's got an amazing voice, and he's very sort of graceful and foxy, but the reason I push the Robin Hood card so hard is because I know so many people who say, this is my weird crush. I've not heard anyone say, my weird crush is the slightly grumpy soldier from Mulan.
I think I'm a little bit hesitant to lose Li Shang at this point, but also I'm more hesitant to upset the masses, so I'm going to go with Robin Hood.
Okay, Robin Hood wins round 1. I'm sorry, Li Shang, it was a tough field for you there. Okay, group number 2, Liam, and we're already moving into weird territory, although I think I know who's got this one. So, we've got Goofy's horse from Saludos Amigos.
I don't even remember this one.
We have the Cuba Gooding Jr. horse from Home on the Range, whose name neither of us bothered to remember. We have Daisy Duck, and we have Shank from Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Ah, you've really done a number on me there, because obviously my heart of hearts is telling me Daisy Duck, but Shank is very weirdly sexualized for that film. And I mean, by weirdly sexualized, I mean they just remade Gal Gadot in animated form.
The safe options for these two would have been Li Shang and Shank, right? But Li Shank, if you will. But you and I both know that's not where this is going.
I mean, I can make my impassioned argument again, but I'm going to go for Daisy Duck. It's entirely up to you whether you're willing to lose Shank to Daisy Duck at this stage.
I think it's a fair trade-off for losing Li Shang, so Daisy Duck is the winner of Group 2. This is so stupid. I love it. I love that Gal Gadot, actual Wonder Woman, lost to 2 horses and a duck. Okay, group number 3. This is where it gets weirder. We've got Henwin the Pig from The Black Cauldron.
Is that really all we could pick for The Black Cauldron?
It's what we went with, Liam. Go back and listen to it. We've got the cabaret singer from Basil the Great Mouse Detective. We have Namari from Raya and the Last Dragon. And of course, we've got Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, wow. So my criteria was always unnecessarily or inappropriately sexualized. I'll say for Namari, I don't really feel she was that sexualized. I feel actually like modern Disney has got a lot better. Post Elsa, we've got a lot better for the character's not feeling uncomfortably sexualized. Esmeralda's sexualization is very much part of the story, so it's not really unnecessary, but maybe it is inappropriate. But that cabaret mouse, it just doesn't need to be there. So, no, I can't do this again. I can't lose Esmeralda to a cabaret mouse, so I'm going to go with Esmeralda.
I'm glad you made that decision, because I didn't want to have to intercede and say, what are you talking about? Of course it's Esmeralda. Okay, Esmeralda wins the third grouping. Okay, group 4. Again, they're getting quite imbalanced here. We've got Sitka from Brother Bear, a character I strongly suspect you can barely remember what he looks like. We've got Perdita from 101 Dalmatians. Weirdly, for Beauty and the Beast, we went with the Bimbettes as just a package deal. And we've got Hercules.
Oh, wow. Oh, I mean, I do love the idea of putting through just 3 women as a single entry. If that doesn't just sum up unnecessary and inappropriate sexualization as here are just 3 women, they have no other personality other than they're hot and blonde. But I do love Hercules. And what were the other 2 options?
Exactly. The other 2 options were Sitka, who is the oldest brother in Brother Bear, the one who is killed by a bear, and Perdita, the mother of some of the 101 Dalmatians.
But that's the thing. Perdita is, to this day, my second sexiest film dog, and easily the sexiest film dog within the Disney canon. We're not including Rover Dangerfield here, so
you're putting, just for, this is a side argument, but you're putting Perdita above Dodger in terms of dog sexiness.
Oh, absolutely. Mainly because Dodger is mostly made sexy by his scarf and sunglasses, and if you put those on Perdita, it's no contest.
Okay, Liam, I'm going to have to push you for an answer. Is it the Bimbettes or is it Hercules? Or is it Sitka? I mean, it's not Sitka, is it?
In the name of inappropriate and unnecessary sexualization, I'm going to go with the Bimbettes.
Okay, the Bimbettes are the winners of Group 4. Group number 5, then. We've got Sergeant Calhoun from Wreck-It Ralph, not from Ralph Breaks the Internet. We have Princess Jasmine. We have Louisa from Encanto. And from Chicken Little, we have Indiana Jones. Again, just to be clear, this is Harrison Ford. This isn't an animated version of this character. It's just Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones.
As Encanto has been out for a fair bit of time now as of recording this, I'm really starting to notice that a lot of the internet agrees with me that Louisa is definitely one of the sexiest characters in that film. And in any other group, she would take it away. And however much I want to put Harrison Ford through, I think we have to put the poster child of inappropriate sexualization, and I've got to go with Jasmine.
Princess Jasmine takes Group 5. Okay, so we move on to Group number 6. Now, Liam, I feel this is a group that, so far we've had sort of 2 strong competitors and 2 weak competitors. This is one where I feel no matter which answer you give, it will say something distinct about you as a person, so no pressure. Group 6 consists of Shere Khan, Aunt Cass from Big Hero 6, a sexy white rose from Alice in Wonderland, and Kristoff from Frozen 2.
Now, this is where you may have to intercede, because I feel any of these are worthy of going through, but for me, I've got to go for Shere Khan. There's just something about that voice and that presence that just does things for me. And it's inappropriate in the Jungle Book. None of the others are inappropriately sexualized. They're the right amount of sexualization for those characters.
I would say that the internet have fallen in love with both Aunt Cass and Kristoff, but how they appear in the films isn't particularly overtly sexualized. The sexy white rose was, let's be honest, the best of a bad bunch in a very weird film. So I'm happy to say that Shere Khan is the winner of Group 6. Group 7, again, is a weird field. So we've got Todd from The Fox and the Hound. I assume this is adult Todd.
Hopefully.
Well, you're the one who put him on, Liam, so I'll let you decide that. We have, quote-unquote, a sexy bee from The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, but I'm pretty sure it's just a bee, and we've added the word sexy in because we couldn't decide. Then, going from sort of lithe animalness, we've got pure masculinity in the forms of Kronk and Tarzan.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad that group got redeemed towards the end and, told us that we are capable of picking sexy characters, which I was doubting for those first couple of options.
Even if Todd was against Robin Hood and it was a fox-off, Todd would still lose.
Yes, absolutely. This is really hard because
It's Himbo versus Hunk, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. And when it comes to Tarzan, it feels weird because he doesn't have that cultural knowledge and societal awareness of relationships. So it feels...
And Kronk does.
Well, apparently, there seems to be some subtext or implication of his relationship with Yzma, where she trades in for a younger model every few years. I'm going to have to go for Kronk. I think that Tarzan, I just feel a bit uncomfortable with, but my God, if he isn't just raw masculinity.
The wall of muscle that is Kronk takes it. Moving into Group 8 then, we have Zeus from Fantasia. We have Prince Naveen from The Princess and the Frog. We have Kida from Atlantis the Lost Empire. And we have Mufasa.
It's Kida and next group.
Okay, Liam. Well, in terms of problematic groups, this is arguably... No, sorry, I've looked at the next group. This is the second most problematic. Actually, no, there's a lot of weird ones. Okay, this one's weird. So, we've got Miss Bianca from The Rescuers. We have... We have the Ringmaster from Dumbo. We have Dr. Calico from Bolt. And we have Pocahontas.
Is that really what we went for with Dumbo?
Yeah.
That's what I went for, I remember now.
Which absolute hunk/babe do you think we missed from Dumbo?
Well, if we wanted to keep it really problematic, we could have gone for one of the crows.
Ah, yes. We specifically avoided that. Precisely for that reason.
And yet we didn't with Pocahontas, who, let's face it, is weirdly and inappropriately sexualized in a way that Disney never really did with their white protagonists. So I think Pocahontas takes this for just the sheer inappropriateness.
So Pocahontas, because of her problematic nature, is the winner of Group 9. A dubious honour indeed. Moving into Group 10 then. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Okay, we have Tramp from Lady and the Tramp. We have Duchess from the Aristocats. We have a sexy harp from Fun and Fancy Free. And we have the gym teacher from Meet the Robinsons. It's not a competitive field, Liam, I'll be honest.
Well, since I neglected to put Miss Bianca through, I feel I've at the very least got to put Duchess through, just for that voice. Okay,
Ava Gabor makes it onto the board and is the winner of Group 10.
I'm sorry, gym teacher, but my heart is set.
I'm sorry, person impersonating Patrick Warburton and being weirdly proportioned. You're not very sexy. Group 11. I feel like competitors 2 to 4 are irrelevant. We've got Flynn Rider. We've got the silhouette of a naked woman from Make My Music. We have Gazelle from Zootopia. And we have fan favourite Tinkerbell.
You say that 2 to 4 are irrelevant, but that's 4 very sexy characters right there.
Okay, 2 to 3 are irrelevant.
No, that's 4 very sexy characters right there. I mean, I'm happy to write the Make My Music one off. I think whilst it's inappropriate, it's also such a small part of the film that whatever. I love Flynn Rider, but he's not particularly sexualized in a way that Tinkerbell is. I think I'm going to have to go with Tinkerbell.
I think it's always worth noting that the very specific moment of Tinkerbell being stuck in the lock has
awoken many childhood sexualities.
Yes. A dubious honour, but an honour nonetheless. So Tinkerbell is the winner of Group 11. Group 12 gets a bit abstract. So we've got the end credits of Dinosaur. We have Bambi's deadbeat dad. We have Cleo the goldfish from Pinocchio. And we have the Pamela Anderson-like lifeguard from Lilo and Stitch.
Now, as I said in our podcast, nothing has provided me with a greater sense of relief than the end credits of Dinosaur. So loath as I am not to put that through, I can't ignore the reason we do this entire segment, and that is, of course, Cleo the goldfish. The sexiest fish known to animation. So I think it easily takes this group.
Wow. A strong competitor there, Bambi's dad falling. Much like how Bambi's mum fell when she was shot. So Group 12 is won by Cleo the goldfish.
There was a list we found years ago of the sexiest Disney characters, and it was all just like... First of all, it was mostly men, which was great to see. But the top 2 were Triton and then Bambi's dad, and it's just like, who wrote this list?
It was just buff dads, was all it was. Buff dads who are jerks. Group 13 then, we have Cinderella, specifically when her dress has been torn. We have Princess Aurora. we have the voice of Zooey Deschanel from Winnie the Pooh, and we have Jim Hawkins' mum from Treasure Planet.
It's interesting that we've ended up with the two most famous classical princesses in the same group. I mean, if I had to go for either of those, I'd probably go for Cinderella. Well, no. Oh, I can't decide between Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, so I'm going to go for the disembodied voice of Zooey Deschanel.
I mean, I've no doubt that Zooey Deschanel is the sexiest person on that list. Giving her the voice, I'm willing to do, because it avoids a lot of the unpleasant connotations of those other characters. So, the disembodied voice of Zooey Deschanel is the winner of Group 13. We have two more groups of Round 1. Group 14, we have Maui from Moana. We have Jose Carioca from The Three Caballeros. We have the girl squirrel from The Sword and the Stone. And we have Elsa from Frozen.
Oh, who could it be? Oh, this is such a hard group, I guess. I'll tell you what, all you have to do is browse the internet for a few moments to realise that there is nowhere near as much adoration for Jose Carioca as there is for Elsa, so it's easily going to be Elsa.
I don't know if I want to live in a world where that would be the case, to be honest. Elsa takes Group 14 of who is the sexiest / most inappropriately sexualised Disney characters. We've got one more group left, and I'm going to have to explain who some of these are. We have Slewfoot Sue from Melody Time, who I believe is the wife of Pecos Bill.
Yeah, who gets shot to the moon or something like that.
We have the Lord of the Sea, Triton. We have Katrina, the object of Ichabod Crane's affection in The Many Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And we have Miss Bianca from The Rescuers Down Under, because she made it onto the list twice.
Now that's really tough, because until Maui came along, Triton had the best chest of every Disney character, just the world's most incredible pecs. And that beard is incredible as well. But he is competing against Miss Bianca. You know what? Just because Ava Gabor is already through in the form of Duchess, I'm going to go with Triton. Just that raw masculine energy pushing him across the finish line.
I can't interest you in Slewfoot Sue.
I immediately forgot she was in this group, so no.
Okay, Triton is the last person to make it through to round 2. Before we move into round 2, Liam, how have you found this weird experience so far?
More animals have made it through than I am proud to admit. Well, I say proud to admit, I have admitted I've been putting them through. I'm the one making the decision. I feel weird about this. What I'm saying, Ben, is this is going much worse than I expected it to.
A third of them are animals that have made it through, for reference. And I'm not including the voice of Zooey Deschanel or Tinkerbell in that, who aren't really human. Okay, Liam, so, once again, just to emphasise, we are talking about sexiness, but also inappropriate sexuality. And sometimes they coalesce and sometimes they don't. So, Liam, we're moving into round 2. It's more competitive. Group number 1, we've got Cleo the Goldfish, we've got Princess Kida, we've got Shere Khan, and we've got Kronk.
I can't put Cleo through over Kida. I think if it was any other group arrangement, I'd be all for Team Cleo, but I can't. It's got to be Kida.
Princess Kida is the first character to make it through into the final. Group number 2, we have Duchess, we have Daisy Duck, we have Triton, and we have Pocahontas.
How can you do this to me, Ben?
Don't blame me, Actually, do blame me, because it's mostly my fault, but also it's your fault.
I always said that Daisy Duck would end up being in the sexiest of the sexy, but I don't think I can put her through over Triton.
I think that's very fair.
I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I'm trying to represent all of our listeners here. If it was just me, it would be Daisy Duck by a landslide, but I know that everyone out there just adores Triton and his massive pecs and glorious beard.
Triton, his trident and his pecs and his beard all make it through to the final. So, our final competitors so far are Princess Kida and King Triton. Liam, I feel this is serendipity, Group 3, because I really feel we've got all the characters of a certain type, bar one exception, very much falling into this category. So Group 3 consists of Esmeralda, the Bimbettes, the voice of Zooey Deschanel, and Tinkerbell.
Now, I was worried that this was going to be... Well, I say worried, I was kind of hoping this would be mostly animals so I could get rid of most of them before the last couple of rounds, but hey-ho. I think it has to be Esmeralda. Of all those characters, she's the one where sexuality is so much part of her story, which in a way means it's not unnecessary, but Again, for a family film, maybe that's inappropriate, but I think they managed it really well. So I'm going to go with Esmeralda.
Esmeralda may well have been robbed of her status as a Disney princess, but she does make it through to our meaningless, sexy showdown final. Lastly, Liam, we have Group 4. I know if you've been keeping track, you'll know who's in this, but I strongly suspect there's been too much going on for you to do that. There's only 3, so it's a narrower field. We have Elsa, Jasmine, and Robin Hood.
I'm going to concede my vote on this one and say it's too hard for me to decide. So, Ben, which of these 3 is making it through?
Well, in the same logic that you've talked about, it's very hard because I think all 3 of these characters are almost at sort of Tinkerbell/Triton levels of people go a bit nuts for them.
Oh, yeah. These, I would say, are arguably 3 of the most crushed on Disney characters.
I think Robin Hood is confusing for some people, and Elsa, I think, is sexy, but not sexualized particularly, whereas I think Jasmine falls into exactly what we're looking for here, which is the criteria of overly sexualized, and it's a bit uncomfortable, and we're like, Disney, come on, sort it out. So I think it has to be Princess Jasmine. Which means, Liam, our final 4 sexiest characters of all Disney films, for which we need to rank them. We have Princess Kida, we have King Triton, we have Esmeralda, and we have Princess Jasmine. Liam, who's the least sexy of those characters?
Least sexy it's still an honour. We're in the top 4 now.
If you queued up every single person on the planet and said, Ben, you're the 4th sexiest person, I'd be like, great. I'd still be furious because winning is everything, but I'd be pretty happy with that.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of people disagreeing with this. I think you're going to disagree with this, but I'm going to say it's Esmeralda because it's about the inappropriateness, and I think after this we hit levels of why was this done? So for me, it's Esmeralda at number 4.
I can see your case for that. I think she is probably one of, if not the most sexualized characters, but lust is a key part of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So Esmeralda makes a very respectable 4th place, just missing out on the podium. Which means, Liam, who's the 3rd sexiest character? I.e., who is the least sexy out of Kida, Triton, and Jasmine?
Oh, this is like asking me to pick my favourite type of lemon tart. It's so close, and the differences between them are so minor.
And it's so bitter.
I'm reluctant to put her at number 4 because she's the perfect representation of Born Sexy Yesterday in many ways. And this is Kida. And whilst within her own culture, she obviously doesn't fit the Born Sexy Yesterday trope. Her whole interest towards Milo and the idea that she is just this beautiful woman that is suddenly interested in Milo. It's like because of her inexperience with his world. So I think she's one of Disney's worst examples of Born Sexy Yesterday, but I think the others are just slightly sexier. So I'm going to go with Kida at number 3.
It's a very respectable bronze medal there because it was a very, very competitive field. And I think Kida's done well because, let's be honest, Atlantis didn't do well. So fair play to her for carrying that torch so far. Which means we're left with, I suppose, what makes the most sense in terms of final clash, because really Disney sexualization falls into these 2 camps. We've got your Jasmines of the world, which are young female characters who are not dissimilar to Kida, a little bit naive, and particularly when they're non-white, they are more sexualized than their white counterparts. And so we've got that kind of problematic, uncomfortable character type. And then the other side, we've got hyper-masculinity, huge beard, huge abs and pecs and arms, and disapproving sexy dads. Really, I feel this encompasses both ends of the Disney spectrum perfectly. So Liam, who is sexier out of Jasmine and Triton?
It's comparing apples and oranges at this point, as you just sort of explained, but I can make a decision that if I had to top the list, it would be Jasmine because of the unnecessary and inappropriate sexualization. Like, I don't think you can ever unnecessarily or inappropriately show like raw masculine energy. They did it fantastically with Gaston, and they do it fantastically with Triton, and it serves no story purpose. He's just a big hulking dad, and that's fantastic, but it never feels too inappropriate. Whereas with Jasmine, there's just that question of like, Did we really need to have her midriff on show this entire film?
And I know the counter-argument to that is Aladdin is basically shirtless for the majority of the film. But I think the flip side of that is the sexualization of women is intrinsically more of a problem in, I was going to say Western media, basically in all or the vast majority of popular media and popular culture. So I think it is fitting to choose Jasmine as the most over-sexualized and sexy Disney character. She does get to snog Jafar, so, I'll envy her that, certainly.
And at the end of the day, that's the true sign of both success and sexiness, I suppose, is if Jafar wants you.
I mean, it's certainly the metric I've run my life by, and it's why I'm so deeply unhappy.
So that is our top 4 sexiest characters across the animated classics. As we discussed, this is to do with inappropriate or unnecessary sexualization. Though, as I've said in our recent podcast, I really feel that Disney have found the sweet spot for not being inappropriate with their sexualization. Maybe just not sexualizing characters at all. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to see more sexuality explored within Disney films. Until we see it, I can't really comment on how, inappropriate or poorly handled that is. But I don't think we're going to see any more Jasmines or Cleo the fish moving forward from Disney.
I think it's telling that of these 4, the most recent is from the early noughties, and I really hope, much like yourself, we move past that. But of course, those are just the views of Liam and myself. Who are your either proud and or shameful Disney crushes? Who are the characters that made you go, maybe I'm growing older as a person when you watch them in those films? As always, we're very, very keen to hear. And here where Liam and I have made absolutely baffling and insane decisions in this showdown. Once again, thank you so much for listening to Wally Giznep. Wally Giznep is available on SoundCloud, Spotify, a selection of other podcast hosting platforms, as well as YouTube, where we post enhanced versions of these episodes, as well as memes, edits, interviews, and other video content. And for our next episode, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Liam, what will we be starting next time?
Well, Ben, we're going to be starting a new series looking at our personal favourite top 10s of various kinds across the animated classics. To kick us off, the very first thing we're going to look at is, having finished our rewatch of all 60 animated classics, which are our personal top 10 films. With that, all that's left to say is thank you very much for listening. We really do appreciate it. And remember to join us next time for our top 10 on Wally Giznep's Animated Classics.